Hi parents, I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. I can't believe it's the end of November. We had a really good week with the kids and we were able to get a lot done. I will give you a summary of what we did so you're aware of what's going on in class, and then also some reminders because next week we have a lot going on with demo and Christmas concerts coming up, so I want to keep you guys in the loop with what's going on. So this week our focus books this week, we looked at When I Grow Up because we did a pretty big project on when I grow, about what the students want to do when they grow up. So we revisited this book. I know I've already shown this in one of my other videos, but like I said, it's very important to revisit books in kindergarten, especially books that have a lot of meaning in them, or books that maybe were kids' favorites. And actually next week at Demo of Learning, the students will be selecting some of their favorite books to show you parents, and then I'd like them to explain to you why those were their favorite books or why they enjoy them. It's really important that we work to help our students develop a love of literacy and a love of books, so this is one of the ways that we were able to do it. So I'll explain when we look at our focus bins what the project linked to this book was. Then we did our first big book reading. Big book readings are really important in kindergarten because they allow me to teach a lot of the concepts of print and book concepts. So again, looking at the front cover, the back cover, the spine of the book, and your children should be able to tell you that. We looked at the title of the book, and then now we're starting to introduce to the kids our who, what, where, when, why questions. And looking at being able to be detectives and to look at a front cover and to tell you, what do I think this book might be about based on the title, The King's Pudding, and based on the images that they see. And of course, this is a very old book. But we looked at this book, and again, we read it as a class. We talked about the structure of a sentence. So we always start with an uppercase. We end with a punctuation mark, leaving spaces between words. We looked at letters are different. The number of letters in a word is different than the number of words in a sentence. So we looked at this book and it was really fun. And we're going to do a lot more big books. So this was The King's Pudding. Then we looked at a book today. It was called Grumpy Monkey. And it was just this, looking at the feeling, the emotion of grumpiness and understanding and allowing the kids to understand that it's okay to feel grumpy, and sometimes you just need to be left alone and you need to feel that way for a little while before you can feel better. So this was kind of just a fun Friday book that we read. Gave the kids a few laughs. And then our focus bins this week, we'll start with, we had a cutting focus bin. So the students, what they were given is they were given a penguin that they had to cut and color. So this is working on their fine motor skills. And by fine motor skills, I mean like their cutting skills and coloring, of course. So the control of your smaller muscles in your hands and some of your larger muscles, or your smaller muscles in your fingers and some of your larger muscles in your hand. We also, every day, reviewed with the students our 6 stars of cutting. So these are my expectations of what the students need to do when they're cutting. So thumb goes in the little loop. We have our thumbs up, so when we're holding our paper, we don't put our fingers up, we always have our thumb up. We cut away from the body, no chicken wings, steering with the helper hand, and staying on the line. And the students should be able to tell you what each of these stars mean. So we reviewed this every day before they went off into their bins. So then this was their kind of little final product. Then we looked at a numeracy bin. So again, because our focus has been on number sense these last few months, we continued with it. So what the students had this week is they were actually given big number cards that had both the numeral and a representation of the numbers. So 1 heart versus 2 versus 3, 4, and so on. So we had numbers 1 to 10. And what the kids had to do is they were given a bag of dominoes, which are also labeled numbers 1 to 10. And what they had to do is they had to count the entire domino and then put the domino onto the card that it belongs. So here, 1, 2, 3, this would belong on number 3. And they had to do it for the entire bag. This one would be 9, so they had to put it on 9. And what I did start to teach my kids is the concept of counting on or counting up. This is a grade 1 concept, not expected them to do it or know it, but some kids are ready for it, and it's always nice to introduce these things because later in the grades they do run into them and they do remember them sometimes. So what counting on is, it's a math strategy. Instead of, if I know this is 5 and the children know because of our subitizing, right, on a dice, being able to see a number and recognize right away what it is. So they know that number 5. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I told them count up from 5. You don't need to count this already. You know it's 5. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's just a quicker way of counting. Some kids were able to do it, some weren't, and that's totally okay. So that was their math bin. And this took quite a level of focus because it's very easy to get distracted when you have to do this many. Then we looked at, okay, with me, the focus bin was what, again, now this is a project related to this book, what do I want to be when I grow up? So what the students did is they had to tell me what they wanted to be when they grew up, and they had to visually represent it with a picture. And then they had to verbally explain to me why they wanted to be it. And you know what? Some kids were able to give me 3, 4, 5 reasons as to why that was the job that they wanted to be. Some kids I needed to prompt them a little bit more and ask them questions.
Sorry for the interruption. Any junior high student interested in trying out for the senior girls basketball team, you need to sign up in the gym at lunch recess with Mr. H. Thank you.
Okay, so then they had to verbally explain to me why. And yes, like I said, some kids did need a little bit of extra prompting, and some were able to give me beautiful answers that had lots of details. So it was really wonderful to see some of the things that they wanted to do and some of the reasons for why they wanted those jobs. Then, once they drew it, I went in and wrote verbatim what they had said. And then what we did is we went to the computer and the children got to pick the picture that they wanted to represent the job that they were hoping to do when they grew up. And I took, and then I took them into another room and we actually videoed this child because I wanted you to see what their verbal explanations are like, because a big part of literacy in kindergarten is the verbal side of it, and can they explain it clearly. So I videoed the children explaining what they wanted to be when they grew up and the reasons why. And then we took the video and we made a QR code out of it. And then we put it into this kind of speech bubble. So you'll be able to see this in their All About Me books at demo. So that was quite a bit of work because they had to think about it, draw it, color it, verbally explain it, and then be able to explain it on a video, which isn't always easy, but they did great. And then the last focus bin, as I told you last week, we took syllables and they had to do it in groups. So groups of, in their focus bin groups, so 6 to 7 kids.